There's a loud knock at your door. Immigration officers are standing outside. They're not here to give you a green card. They're here because they think your marriage is fake. That quick shortcut someone promised you? It can now mean up to 5 years in federal prison, fines up to $250,000, deportation, and a permanent bar from ever coming back to the United States. Is a green card worth that price? Today, we're breaking down the real consequences of marriage fraud for immigration purposes in 2026, for both the immigrant and the U.S. citizen, and how even honest couples can get caught in the crossfire if they don't know the rules. Stay with me until the end, so you don't make mistakes that immigration officers can interpret as fraud. Intro: what this video covers. In this video, you'll learn what legally counts as marriage fraud, the different types of fraudulent marriages USCIS looks for, exactly how USCIS and DHS detect fraud, interviews, home visits, documents, and tips, the immigration and criminal consequences for the non-citizen, the penalties for U.S. citizens and green card holders involved in fake marriages, how marriage fraud affects genuine couples, and what you can do to prove your marriage is real, and what to do if you're accused of fraud, even if you're innocent. This video is for general information only and is not legal advice. If you're in a specific situation, talk directly with an experienced immigration attorney. On screen, Section 1. What is marriage fraud under U.S. immigration law? 1. What is marriage fraud under U.S. immigration law? Under U.S. immigration law, marriage fraud happens when a couple gets married with the primary goal of getting immigration benefits, not to build a real life together as spouses. It's not about where you met, how long you've known each other, or whether the relationship is traditional or not. The key question is, what was the real intention when you got married? If the main goal is get a green card and not to have a genuine marital relationship, immigration law can treat it as fraud. USCIS commonly sees 3 patterns. Sham marriages. Both people know the relationship isn't real. They agree, we'll pretend to be married so you can get papers. One-sided fraud. One spouse truly believes the marriage is real. The other secretly intends to use the marriage only to get immigration status, then leave, divorce, or disappear. Financially arranged marriages. A U.S. citizen or green card holder is paid, in money or favors, to marry a non-citizen so that person can apply for a green card. All of these can be considered marriage fraud, whether or not the couple actually lives together or has photos together. And under federal law, this is not just an immigration violation, it's a crime. On screen, Section 2. How USCIS detects and investigates marriage fraud. 2. How USCIS and DHS detect and investigate marriage fraud. USCIS and the Department of Homeland Security treat marriage fraud as a serious enforcement priority. Over the years, Congress has passed laws like the Immigration Marriage Fraud Amendments of 1986 to crack down on fake marriages. Here are some of the main ways they detect fraud. A. Detailed document review. When you file a marriage-based petition, USCIS looks closely at marriage certificates and divorce decrees, joint bank accounts and credit cards, joint leases or mortgages, utility bills in both names, joint insurance policies, photos together over time, travel records, messages, and other evidence of shared life. Red flags can include no shared finances or bills, very recent marriage right before a visa expires or deportation hearing, multiple prior spousal petitions filed by either person, inconsistent personal information on different forms. Any mismatch or lack of shared life can trigger suspicion. 2. Interviews, together and separately. Most marriage-based cases involve at least one in-person interview. USCIS may interview both spouses together, then separate them and ask detailed questions about daily life, family, and history. Questions may cover how you met, important dates and events, daily routines, who pays which bills, layout of your home, family members' names. If your answers don't match or they feel rehearsed or unnatural, USCIS may schedule a second, more intense interview, issue a request for evidence, RFE, refer the case to the Fraud Detection and National Security Unit. C. Home visits and site inspections. FDNS officers can make unannounced visits to your home, your workplace, sometimes neighbors or landlords. They're checking whether you actually live together, your home looks like a shared space, your story matches what they saw at the interview. If they find signs that you live totally separate lives, it can be used as evidence of fraud. D. Tips and whistleblowers. Marriage fraud investigations often start from tips, such as ex-partners or ex-spouses, angry family members, neighbors, or coworkers. People involved in larger fraud rings. USCIS and ICE now have structured reporting systems that allow people to report suspected fraud, sometimes anonymously. These tips don't automatically mean you're guilty, but they can trigger a deep investigation. E. Immigration history and background. If a foreign national has prior marriage cases denied, multiple past marriages to U.S. citizens, prior immigration violations, USCIS will scrutinize the new case much more closely. They also coordinate with other agencies to verify criminal records, travel history, and prior applications. On screen, Section 3. Consequences for the immigrant spouse. 3. Consequences of marriage fraud for the non-U.S. citizen. For the immigrant spouse, marriage fraud has both immigration and criminal consequences. 1. Denial of the green card. If USCIS decides the marriage is fraudulent or not bona fide, the I-130 petition can be denied, the green card application, I-485 or consular case is rejected. This alone can block the path to permanent residency. 2. Removal proceedings. If fraud is found, the immigrant can be placed in removal proceedings. A judge may issue an order of deportation. This can tear families apart and may also affect any children's lives, finances, and schooling. 3. Permanent inadmissibility. Marriage fraud isn't just a temporary problem. If immigration finds that you attempted to get an immigration benefit through fraud or misrepresentation, you can be permanently inadmissible to the United States, barred from most future visas, tourist, work, student, or family-based. In some marriage fraud situations, there is no waiver available. That means you can never be petitioned for a green card again under the law. This fraud stamp on your record follows you for life, and other countries may also question your applications when they see your U.S. immigration history. 4. Criminal penalties. Under federal law, marriage fraud is a serious crime. If convicted, the immigrant can face up to 5 years in federal prison, fines up to $250,000, possible additional charges like document fraud or conspiracy. These penalties can apply even if no green card was ultimately approved, if the government proves the intent to defraud. On screen, Section 4. Consequences for the U.S. citizen or green card holder. 4. Consequences for the U.S. citizen or green card holder. A lot of U.S. citizens mistakenly believe, nothing can really happen to me, I'm just helping someone out. That is completely wrong. U.S. citizens and green card holders who participate in marriage fraud face real criminal and financial risks. 1. Criminal charges. If you knowingly participate in a fake marriage, you can be charged with marriage fraud, conspiracy to commit immigration fraud, and making false statements to the government. Potential penalties, up to 5 years in federal prison, fines up to $250,000, additional charges if you were part of a larger fraud scheme. If you're a green card holder, a criminal conviction for marriage fraud can lead to loss of your own permanent residency, deportation from the U.S., and deportation. 2. Permanent criminal record. A conviction goes on your permanent criminal record, affecting future employment opportunities, professional licenses, security clearances, and ability to sponsor others in the future. It can also seriously damage your reputation, relationships, and future plans. 3. Financial and legal liability. In addition to fines, you may be ordered to repay government costs, cover certain court-related expenses. If you were paid to marry someone, that money can be seized, and you may face additional financial crimes depending on how the payments were structured. On screen, Section 5. How marriage fraud hurts real couples. 5. The broader impact. How marriage fraud hurts genuine couples. Marriage fraud doesn't just hurt the people who get caught. It also harms legitimate couples trying to follow the law. Here's how. A. Stricter scrutiny for everyone. Because fake marriages exist, USCIS asks more personal questions, demands more documents, orders more interviews and home visits. Even couples who are completely genuine can feel like they're on trial just for being in a mixed-status relationship. B. longer processing times. Investigating suspected fraud takes time and resources. That means longer backlogs, slower approval for real cases, more uncertainty and stress for families waiting on decisions. C. Public perception and policy. High-profile marriage fraud cases can erode public trust in the immigration system, give fuel to calls for more restrictive laws, and make it harder for genuine immigrants and mixed nationality couples in the future. In other words, a few people looking for shortcuts can create consequences for millions of others. Myths and dangerous assumptions. Section 6. Common myths about marriage and green cards. Let's clear up some dangerous myths that lead people into trouble. Myth number 1. If we stay married for 2 years, everything is safe. Reality. Even after you get a conditional green card, USCIS reviews your marriage again when you file to remove conditions. If they discover fraud then, they can deny your permanent green card, place you in removal proceedings, refer you for criminal charges. Myth number 2. No one cares about small cases, they just target big fraud rings. Reality, USCIS, ICE, and DHS investigate individual cases all the time, often starting from a single tip, a suspicious interview, or inconsistent documents. Myth number 3. We can get married just for papers. If we fall in love later, it's okay. Reality, the law looks at your intent at the time of marriage, not later. If it was fake at the start, it's marriage fraud, even if feelings change later. On screen, Section 7. How genuine couples can avoid the appearance of fraud. Section 7. How genuine couples can avoid the appearance of fraud. If you're in a real relationship and want to do things the right way, you must be ready to prove your marriage is bona fide. Here are key steps. A. Build real-life evidence. Gather and keep documents that show a shared life, such as joint bank accounts and credit cards, joint lease or mortgage, shared utility bills and internet or phone plans, joint health, auto, or life insurance, birth certificates of children together, joint tax returns if applicable. The goal is to show that you function as one financial and household unit like other married couples. B. Keep a record of your relationship. Don't underestimate small details, photos over time, not just one big wedding shoot, travel tickets and hotel bookings together, screenshots of conversations if relevant, cards, letters, or messages for important events. These help show a timeline of your relationship, not just a sudden wedding. C. Get affidavits. You can provide sworn statements, affidavits, from friends, family, religious leaders, neighbors. They should explain how they know you, what they've seen about your relationship, and why they believe your marriage is real. D. Be honest in interviews. If you don't remember an answer, say so. Guessing or making things up is dangerous. Inconsistent, nervous, or obviously rehearsed answers are a big red flag. Immigration officers are trained to spot this. E. If you separate or divorce. A real marriage can still fail. If the marriage was bona fide when it began, some immigrants may still qualify to remove conditions or pursue certain relief, but they'll face much higher scrutiny and must show strong evidence of the relationship while it lasted. In that situation, it's especially important to work with an experienced immigration attorney. On screen, if you're accused or investigated of marriage fraud. Section 8. What to do if you're accused or investigated. If you receive a harsh request for evidence, RFE, about your marriage, a notice of intent to deny, NOID, referencing fraud, a notice to appear in immigration court, a letter or visit from FDNS or ICE, do not ignore it. Do not lie to fix things, and do not go through it alone. Here's what you should do. Contact an experienced immigration attorney immediately. Look for a lawyer who regularly handles marriage-based cases and fraud allegations. They can review your file and the government's concerns, help you organize strong evidence, prepare you for interviews or hearings, protect you from saying things that can be misinterpreted. Gather all evidence of your relationship. Collect photos, messages, financial records, leases, joint bills, tax returns, and affidavits, any proof that the relationship was genuine.
Do not sign statements without legal advice. Sometimes officers may pressure you to just admit something or sign a statement. You have the right to consult an attorney first. Stay calm and tell the truth. Panic leads people to make false statements that create real fraud issues where none existed before. If your marriage is real and you simply made mistakes on forms, forgot documents, or had communication issues, a good lawyer may help clarify that to USCIS. On screen, final thoughts. Is it worth it? Section 9. Final thoughts. Is marriage fraud worth the risk? At the end of the day, ask yourself, is a temporary green card worth permanent inadmissibility? Is a shortcut worth destroying your immigration future? Is some quick cash worth a federal felony on your record? Marriage should be about building a life with someone, not building a case file for immigration. In 2026, the U.S. government continues to treat marriage fraud as a serious crime. They use interviews, documents, home visits, tips, and data analysis to detect it. The penalties are harsh, and the impact can last a lifetime. If your relationship is real, protect yourselves. Be honest, be organized, be prepared, and when in doubt, get professional legal guidance instead of guessing.